Alright, so in this video we're checking out the iFlight SkyViz analog goggles, and this product I've known about for a while. I think they first told me that they were developing this maybe back in 2024, so yeah, it's been probably almost 2 years since they told me about this product that they were going to develop it, and then I didn't hear anything about this for the longest time. I thought it was dead, and then they said, hey, we are almost finished with the product, and they asked me if I'd like to review it, and I was like, sure, let's take a look at it and see how it compares to some of the other goggles I have, and I have them on the desk here as well. Now, I'm going to start off this video with basically a big caveat or disclaimer. Goggle reviews are very difficult, so I'm probably going to get a lot of things wrong from your perspective, because everyone's perspective about goggles is highly subjective. The way they fit, the way they feel, how they operate, all those things are going to be different factors for you versus me. So any one of these goggles might be the perfect goggle for you, or they might be all terrible. There's no real way to know until you've put them on, flown with them for a while, maybe a week or two. So I've gotten these about a month ago. I've been flying these off and on for about a month, and I wanted to really get a solid feel for these goggles before I made a video on it. So that's why I'm a little bit late to the party. Usually you're going to be late to the party anyway, but I think in this case probably everyone else has already reviewed these goggles already. And I'm going to give you my perspective on the pros and cons of this particular goggle compared to the Orca. This is the FPV-1 Pilot goggles, considered the industry standard, probably the top of the line FPV goggle for analog pilots, at least of right now, as of 2025. And by the way, this has been out of stock forever. I'm not sure why. If anyone knows, let me know why. And then the other goggles that I also fly a lot are the SkyZone 04X Pros. I reviewed both of these goggles on the channel a long time ago. So I'll link these reviews in the description. I'm not going to rehash these goggles over again. I'm just sort of going to give you some comparisons between these three as to what I liked and didn't like. Now, obviously, there's going to be some factors here that are important to you that I'm probably not even going to touch at all, and that's because I can't possibly know what's important to everybody. So I'm just going to give some generalities here on what might be important to you. Now, first off, I don't fly analog much anymore, unless it is for things like these tiny whoops here, which are exclusively analog at this lightweight, typically under 20 grams. If you're mainly going to be flying bigger stuff, you might not be flying analog much. So I don't know if these goggles are going to be all that important to you. So for me personally, if I'm flying pretty much anything else other than these tiny whoops, I'm flying DJI. That's my pretty much go-to. So that's my sort of background in FPV and my choice of goggles. If you're like going to be thinking of going into FPV racing, flying analog, then your criteria is going to be highly different from mine. So my review may not be very relevant to you, but I'm just going to give you my points of view on this in this video. So I'm going to start off by saying that I think all of these goggles are very good. They're very expensive for analog goggles. I think out of these, this is actually the cheapest one at $480. The SkyZones are $499, and that comes with the receiver built in, and the SkyViz comes with the receiver built in. The Orcas are the most expensive. They're like 599 euros, which is about $700, which is extremely expensive, without any receiver. I have the rapid fire analog receiver in here, which runs around $200. And just in case, later on, I'm going to show you some footage of the reception. I did use proper antennas. People always say I don't use proper antennas, and I don't know if these are proper or not. These are just some true RC antennas. They're about 20 bucks each. Those are the ones you can see from the footage on the Orcas. The footage from the SkyViz come with the built-in antennas. And pros and cons there. does not, you don't have to put anything on or lose anything and spending extra money. So in terms of cost, with the antennas and the receiver and the goggles, you're close to $1,000 all in on the Orcas, which is almost double, I think, compared to the Sky Zones and the SkyViz. But most people will say that that extra money is worth it. Again, that's going to depend on who you are and what you're going to be using these for. So, just going to give you a quick look around the goggles here. So this does not come with a battery. It came with this cable, which is very long, and it's intended, I guess, to put the battery in your pocket and uses an XT60 connector. I think the voltage range is 2S to 6S, and I'm using a 4S LiPo here. I decided to just wrap up the cable like this and attach the battery to the back of the head strap. The strap is included. And you use some rubber bands to do that. I think a big complaint people will have is it uses a different barrel connector. It's a DC 4.5 millimeter connector, and it's technically known as a DC 4530. And most of the other goggles out there are going to use what's known as a 5521 or a 5.5 millimeter by 2.1 millimeter connector. So if you want to use a shorter cable, which, I mean, you could get a shorter one, this barrel connector here is actually the same one that's used on the DJI Goggles 2. So if you have a DJI Goggles 2 battery, you can actually power it on with the same plug-in battery and attach it to the back here with that shorter cable if you want. Or if you want to just use an adapter, you can, if for example, if you have a battery with a 5521 barrel connector, there's adapters you can get. There are basically 5521 to 4530 connector adapters, and then you can use this plug here. I think they went with this plug with the same reasons that DJI switched to that plug on the Goggles 2. It's a little bit more secure. It's a tighter fit. It's not going to fall out as easy, and that's probably the main reason. It's also smaller, so you have a smaller footprint on the PCB where the power is coming in. But some people will hate that and say it's a deal breaker. I don't think it's a big deal. There's adapters out there, and I'm just using the stock cable. I'm just wrapping everything up like this, putting it on the back of my head, and it is totally fine. In fact, this is one of the pros for me. I actually like the fact that I can just kind of collapse it like this, and I can literally I can hold it the whole thing in my hand here. Antennas collapsed. This is a huge pro for me. I like nice, compact, lightweight setups like this, and ultimately, basically, I'll tell you why at the end of the video, but I'm actually going to be selling off these other two goggles, the Orcas and the Sky Zones, these Sky Zones. These are going to be sold off on my old gear spreadsheet, so I'll link that in the video description if you're wondering how to pick these up for a good deal. I'm going to be using these going forward because I actually enjoy the compactness. Everything works really well, and the biggest reason is the fit. The fit on this one is the best for me, and the field of view is the best for me. So I'll talk about the field of view first. Now, the field of view on the SkyViz is going to be 44 degrees, okay, in the 4x3 mode. The Sky Zones is the widest at 52 degrees. So if you want a super wide field of view, then the Sky Zones are going to be for you. The problem for me on the Sky Zones is that it's too wide, so I can't see the edges of the screen, so I have to move my OSD elements towards the middle. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like the field of view. It's too wide for me. Conversely, on the Orcas, it's too narrow. It's 37 degrees in 4x3, but the fit is not as good on my face. So the fit on the SkyViz is a kind of a flatter fit. It actually fits my face perfectly. Now, for those of you with more rounded faces, you can probably put some shims in here. So this just comes off some Velcro. I wish, this is one of the recommendations I'm going to have for iFlight is to include some foam shims to sort of, make this angle a little bit more tighter for those with more rounder faces, but I think it's going to be more for people with smaller, flatter faces. For me, I have absolutely zero light leakage on this one, and I'm able to see the screens perfectly. They are very immersive, very dark. On the Orcas, the curvature here for your face is going to be more for people with rounder heads, not flatter faces. And for me, I actually have a gap in the top here and the bottom. I have a lot of light leakage, and that also means that my eyes are further away from the screens, and that being the smaller field of view, they're actually quite tiny. They almost look like postage stamps. Now, granted, it's still good screens, and I still have a very good viewing experience. I can still fly. Like, none of these things make these unflyable for me. These are just little like, things that kind of are downsides or pluses for me. So just take that with a grain of salt. If I say something's unflyable, I'll tell you. But nothing here makes anything unflyable. Now on the Sky Zones, you have the advantage of 2 faceplates. So I'm using the wider faceplate. They do include a narrower faceplate here for those with more rounder heads. And again, the field of view on this one is a little bit too wide for me, even with the good fit. And I don't have very much light leak on this one, maybe just a tiny bit here in the nose area, but mainly the field of view is a little bit too wide for my comfort. Now, conversely, because this is such a really good fit, it does get quite warm inside here. It's not unbearable. Like I've flown in the sun. It gets fairly warm. I'll put some thermal images here from a thermal camera. Basically, compared to the Orca, it's probably, in terms of the foam, it's maybe like 5 degrees warmer Fahrenheit. Not too much. Now, the SD card gets quite a bit warmer for some reason. It gets to about 112 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not terribly hot. I mean, it's not like going to burn you or anything like that. Now, on the Orcas, they do run a bit cooler, so I would say overall on the surface on the outside, maybe about 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler, and same with the SD card, it's about 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. But I think the reason why this whole thing runs cooler is because I get airflow in the top and the bottom here, so if it's windy outside, I actually feel the breeze on my face inside the goggles, which I don't feel on the SkyViz goggles because the fit is absolutely spot on. So I get absolutely no airflow inside here, which I think in terms of light leakage, that's a positive. In terms of airflow, that's a negative. There is a vent here for some airflow, and I did turn the max or the fan speed up to max here in the menus. And I'm not going to be able to show you any of the menus here because they are just too tiny and I can't focus my camera on them. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show them to you. But it is a very sharp 1080p panel, OLED panel. It's a 1/2 inch screen like the ones on the Sky Zones and on the Orcas. The Orca screens are a little bit less resolution in terms of what you get. It's like 1280 by 960, so a little bit less resolution. Honestly, for analog video, I can't tell the difference. They both look fantastic. The Sky Zones also have a 1920 by 1080 panel OLED, 100 hertz. These are all 100 hertz panels, so in terms of latency, that's not an issue. Now, the DVRs, for those of you that are content creators and going to be recording your flights, the DVRs on the Orcas and the Sky Zones are significantly better. They're higher resolution and they're 60 FPS. The ones on the SkyViz are 30 FPS and a lower resolution and a lower bitrate. But, as I'm showing you the side-by-side footage, can you tell the difference between the two? And how important is that to you? If it is, then yeah, that's probably going to be a deal breaker for you. Okay, so let's talk about the reception. I'll show you the side-by-side footage. Now, I obviously use the SkyViz here with the built-in antennas. I don't do long-range FPV, so I don't need like gigantic patch antennas. So for those of you that are specifically doing FPV for that, you may need to look at some other goggles. The antennas are not user replaceable. I'm sure someone will figure out a way to take this apart and customize it, but that is not the point of this video. So the footage you're going to see here is going to be the SkyViz goggles with the stock antennas, and then the next to the Orcas with the rapid fire receivers and the true RC antennas. And you guys can make your judgments as to which is which and which is better. You let me know in the comments. All right, so a few last things to note. You get some ventilation here up on the top. You get a joystick here to control the menus. There's a back button here, and then this button here is for recording your DVR footage. In the front, you get some lights, which you can change colors and change in the menus. I just have them off because it just uses a battery. The basically the focus is adjustable, the diopters are adjustable here, as well as the IPD distance. You do have the power button here. You do have to press it. It's a DJI style power button. Press it and then press it again and hold to power it up. And you get a micro HDMI port here, as well as a 3.5mm AV port for analog if you want to use a different external receiver. And then this is going to be for like your HD0 the video receivers and your walk-snail video receivers. One of the downsides on this one is that there's no mounting point for those video receivers in the front here. I'm sure someone will come up with something creative, 3D print probably, to be able to adapt this to those, but I did not test the HDMI on this one because that's something that I don't really, well, for one, I don't have any working walk-snail or HD0 video receivers, so I can't test it anyway, but that's not something I'm very interested in. So you'll have to look for some other videos, reviews out there in terms of coverage for that. But I think that's going to end it for this video here for now. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. And again, yes, I am going to be switching to this goggle probably for the foreseeable future. And if you're interested in picking up the Sky Zones or the Orcas, I'll have those linked on my old gear spreadsheet, and they'll be in the video description. Questions, comments, let me know down in the comment section below. Talk to you guys in the next one.